Welcome back to Foiling Week 2022 and the forum. We're excited on this topic to be talking about BacktheBid, hashtag BacktheBid, all one word, which was precipitated. It's about getting the Paralympic Games back into the Paralympics. In 2018, I believe it is, the International Paralympic Committee removed sailing from the Paralympic Games, which was a huge blow, not just to the Paralympic Sailing Committee, which it's, Paralympic sailing's been around for a long time, but to our entire sailing committee. We're a sailing community. We are one big community. We look to each other for inspiration, for training and development. And so when sailing was removed from the Paralympics in 2018, that was a huge blow to our community. And we have some guests to talk about that today. Here in Lago de Garda, I have my co-host, Bruno Giuntoli, who's also the founder of the SUMOTH Challenge, the Sustainable Moth Challenge with universities around the world. And also our guests are Catherine Duncan from World Sailing, Alessandro Lancelotti, the Italian Paralympic kite sailor, and also Chris Ballois, the French Paralympic kite sailor. And everyone will be here talking about BacktheBid and also about how the new discipline, which would be into the Paralympics, would be kiting and kite foiling, how that can kind of help the Paralympic community gain some traction in trying to get sailing back into the Paralympics for 2028 in Los Angeles. So welcome, everyone.
Hi,
everybody.
Awesome. So Catherine, 2018, it was a big deal in the entire, not just Paralympic sailing, in the entire sailing universe. You were with World Sailing. Tell me about what's happened since 2018 to now with the genesis of BacktheBid.
Yeah, so when we found out, obviously we were going to be in the Paralympics after Rio 2016, we immediately submitted a bid after that to be reinstated, which unfortunately wasn't successful back in 2018, and that would have been to be included for the Paris Games. So this bid now and BacktheBid is for re-inclusion at the LA 2028 Olympic Games. So the BacktheBid side of things is the kind of global comms campaign World Sailing launched in October 2021, and that's to support the reinstatement. It's had massive support from the global sailing community and sports community who've kind of been publicly endorsing and spreading the message. And right now, actually, we're in a really crucial period as we submit the bid on the 4th of July. So the process that we've had to go through is the International Paralympic Committee in February this year kind of opened the applications, and we received kind of the sports questionnaire to complete. And so behind the scenes, we've been completing all the information to go in that questionnaire, and then that's submitted to the IPC on the 4th of July. So just the final few tweaks literally happening as we speak. And then after all the sports submit their questionnaires, they're then reviewed by the IPC governing board, and that's kind of around the end of September time. And then we find out the outcome in January 2023. So the process has been the same with this questionnaire for the sports that are currently in the Paralympic Games, as well as those trying to enter. And in LA 2028, there will be 22 Paralympic sports included. So we're really trying to vie to be one of those sports that's included. We've kind of had some priorities to go with, our bid and making sure this can happen for sailing. And those have been to increase worldwide participation. And we're really proud now to shout that as part of the bid, we've got 41 nations actively taking part in parasailing across 5 continents, which is fantastic. And we hope to continue to grow that in 2023, looking to gain to 45 nations. We're also trying to work on youth participation in the sport, so people below the age of 30 to make up 20% of our total athletes. And I think the para-kiting is a fantastic way to look to grow this. And then finally looking to grow the female participants in the sport as well to 30%, and then ultimately achieve gender parity. So just a few small goals for us to achieve, but we really are positive in getting there and well on our way to achieving them. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of an overview on the BacktheBid process.
That's exhausting. And I say that in a good way because it illuminates that how much effort and work it takes to keep these sports in the games, and the fact that you get in a situation where a sport is removed from the games, how much how much effort it takes to even just get in it in the first place. It's almost, it feels like it's almost like starting from scratch. But like you said, there's a tremendous amount of support. And let's shift over to the kind of the new inclusion, like you said, looking to kite foiling. You know, like we're foiling week, so that's another reason why we wanted to talk about this. That going forward, you know, there's a lot of eyeballs on anything in hydrofoil space, but there's a lot of young and existing sailors and competitors wanting to get into the sport, and they're getting into it through kiting and kite foiling. So maybe we'll shift over to Alessandro and Chris. Tell us about, you know, we can talk about BacktheBid with your efforts, but maybe Alessandro, tell me about your journey to wanting to be an Olympian and what your discipline is.
Hydrofoil, my discipline is hydrofoil. Yes, I think it's for me it's a fantastic hydrofoil, because the feats that you can fly over the water, it's really fantastic. And I think that one day we can go to the Olympics games, to the Paralympics games. Yes, it's really awesome.
And for you in your training, is there a lot of crossover with the Italian kite foiling athletes? Because as we know, kite foiling is for the first time men and women in Paris 2024, right, Bruno? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there any cross training with the Italian now new Olympic athletes in kite foiling? Maybe training with the Italian.
No, I didn't train with because the other guys are so fast than me, and I can only go around the sea.
Cool. So tell me about your training then.
Yes,
Who are your training partners?
My training, I go in the water, and with the Garmin, with the GPS, I take my velocity and I try to go so fast. This is my training.
Yeah, that's awesome. And maybe you're go ahead, Bruno. I was going to say, you know, it's kind of for your development, the type of equipment you're using is a little bit different, some of it. And to be able to train and quantify, just like the Sumo Challenge is testing out their boats right now, and they're comparing their data with each other. They can compare their data to other sailors around the world, right? You can do that too.
Yes, exactly.
That's perfect for beginning. So now you can set up, let's say, your limit, and then go test yourself out with Chris later, and you know where to stand up and how to push yourself further using just a GPS and yourself for the moment, while you find a better, like another partner for training.
Now, Chris, let's move on to Chris. Chris is with an established sponsor group, Apisil, who's also sponsoring Damien Seguin, who's a multiple Olympic medalist from France in the 2.4 meter class, a small keelboat class. And he's also a Vendée Globe competitor, completed the last Vendée Globe, also just completed the Vendée Arctic last week. And Chris is on that team now in Paralympic kite. So Chris, tell me about, in the French culture, obviously there's a lot of top kite foiling going on. They're one of the top, producers of medals in kite foiling right now. So maybe tell me what the scene is like for you starting a new discipline for Paralympic sailing in France. Do you have a lot of support?
Yes, for sure, I have support. For me, I ride to speed, directional board or TT or whatever you want. Foiling for sure. Foiling is just unbelievable. You go fast in the light wind. You up the wind, you down the wind. It's super nice to see for everybody. And for me, I'm training sometimes with a sparring partner, and sometimes I'm ride with classic rider on race. I'm second in the French Championship to directional board long distance, and so for me it's easier to Alessandro because I'm stand up and I can ride with classic guy, and it's cool because we have a lot of exchange, and it's cool for me to up my level. You know, if my concurrent is a classic guy, I push a lot of for go on the high level.
Awesome. And so this brings up a question I have, and it's maybe shifting to Catherine. In that transition, you know, the Paralympic Games, you know, in basic terms, gets dropped from the Olympic Games. And so how does this structure that World Sailing has, and then I'll ask Alessandro and Chris, the way national authorities have to support Paralympic sailors and to support those teams, I mean, it just hasn't stopped since 2016. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, parasailing is a massive part of sailing, and our commitment to parasailing doesn't change, you know, whether we're in the Paralympics or not. But through a lot of our programs, we've been still trying to support our national federations in parasailing, whether that's through attending events, or our parasailing development program, which brings nations together for training opportunities and learning to set up programs. So we've been really trying to support with these opportunities. And it was just last week on the other side of Lake Garda, we held our first parakiting development program. So it was the kind of first program of this kind that World Sailing's been run to bring together parakiters and coaches from across the world to kind of see where the first steps and where we can go with this.
And what was the demographic like at that event? What type of sailors did you have there? Did you have a mix of genders and the coaches were from different disciplines, or how did that look?
Yeah, so we had 7 athletes present and 4 coaches. So both Alessandro and Chris were present, so they'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more, but we had a complete mixed range of kiters, from kiters to stand kiters to kiters who had foiling experience. So it's a complete range there. Then that was kind of our first priority, just to bring everybody together, find out how the training happens and make sure we've got the procedures in this for it to happen safely moving forward. And then in the future, you know, we look at what we can do with the different disciplines. You know, if we need to look at a growth framework, for bringing in different formats and classes, and then taking it forward, hopefully in the future, to racing and events, basically.
Awesome. And Alessandro, from your perspective, how did that training event go? Obviously, there may have been people doing kind of different kite disciplines, but was that exciting to get something moving with a group of people?
Yes, I think it's better if we are a group, because it's better to improve our skills. And I think if we are a group, it's better because it's better, it's more funny, and we can improve our skills because we have a paragon with the other people that ride with us.
Awesome. And I know, Chris, you were involved in that training camp as well, but you were also involved with the machine that is the sailing in France. You know, sailing is very well supported in France. For Paralympic kiting, what do you see the opportunities are to grow that discipline in terms of performance, you know, performance training? Do you have kind of a vision in your head how nationally and internationally you can help that discipline in Paralympic sailing?
I know the French Federation push on the para direction, but actually it's a first step. Like Guarda, it's a very first step that everybody go fast, and it's a big group, it's a small group, and we have make a lot of fun for sure on this place. Direction, I think so. It's to have a first step is a class, World Sailing class for Paralympic athlete, and after we can go, everybody can go on his land, on his country, with the federation by country for push more and more. next step, in my opinion, is to have a demonstration while 2024 Olympic to Marseille. And the second step, for sure, it's to push to back to 2028.
Now, Bruno, you have a question.
Yeah, actually, you were talking about this training camp.
We don't hurt a lot of Bruno.
Now it's better.
Not so good.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, one little question regarding this training camp. As you know, in Foiling Week, we are all about, first of all, foiling accessibility, diversity, and you were talking about this training. My question is, how many female sailors did you have, if you have any? And aside of that, if you had any other nations aside France and Italy, maybe Catherine can answer this one.
Yeah, so we did have one female kiteboarder, Frances from the USA. So she was present at the camp and fantastic. You should check out her Instagram for the work she's doing. It's amazing. And then the other nations present with Netherlands. So then USA, obviously France, Italy, and we had a coach also from Iran present too.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, great.
And I had a question about equipment, and maybe I'll start with Alessandro. Alessandro, you are, how do you ride on your foil board? What's the connection?
Yes, I have a simple board that we on this board I have a chassis and in aluminium, and on this chassis I have a seat in carbon, and under the board there is an hydrofoil, and all this equipment is custom, because when I go in the water we have so many problems of balance, because for balance the board I can't move the balance on the board like the other guys can do when they race. And for this reason, I have to balance all the board. In fact, you can see on the back of the board, I have put 1 kilos for the balance.
And do you change the ballast to different conditions?
Yes, exactly.
So my other question is, because you're riding the board differently than Chris would in his stand up and his pitch control, do you think you have different needs on the actual hydrofoils themselves? Do you have a specific type of hydrofoil that you'd like to use, maybe compared to a stand up?
No. I have the same hydrofoil. In fact, any years I change it for improve my skills and for have a better hydrofoil for performance.
Awesome.
Yeah, what I see on your board on this picture, that it's awesome. I'm amazed that you can ride like this. It's really impressive. It's a sinker board, so it looks like I don't know, 10-15 millimeter thick. So how do you start? How do you water start?
For water start, I put all my weight on the back, and after immediately I have to put all the balance on the front of the board, and I have to push with my back. I have to do this movement, and with this I can start.
So basically, you put your weight backwards, and then you throw the kite to get the power to get up, and then you go.
Yes, exactly.
Great, it's amazing, man. This is
Thank you.
It's really great. Congrats.
Now, the one thing I like to get into here, it's almost like we should chronologically start with this question. But what I wanted to talk to, and we'll move to Catherine as well, but we'll start with Chris and then move to Alessandro. I want to hear your kind of sailing origin story. What got you into the sport, and then how you got into the kiting side of things. So maybe, Chris, if you can hear us clearly, how'd you get into sailing?
Beginning sailing is with Optimist. Maybe I have 12 years. And after a lot of windsurf, maybe 10 or 20 years to windsurf in the wave, and I'm on the French top 10. But for sure, windsurf is a more difficult kite for me. With one hand, you know, windsurf a lot of time you use your harness, and when you want to make a rotation, the training is hard. After it's okay, but the training is very hard. So close in the very beginning of the kite, I work for the company to develop the kite market. And after that, in 2014, I decided to work for me and work for develop my level. And first beginning, it's speed, because speed you have a real time. You don't know you're good or you're bad. You know with the timing. So in first step, I have the disability sailor record, 500 meter. Maybe it's close for 40 not, I don't know in English.
Absolutely.
So yes, and in 2018, I have broke the classic record to the nautical mile, and it's first step and disability sailor break a world record, and that's very cool. And that's very cool because all the people, all the media say, okay, it's possible if you work hard. Disability sailor can have very high level in the sport.
Awesome. Wow. I mean, I just can't even think about going that fast. In a car, it scares me.
And that's why now I'm training with classic people, classic rider, and it's good for me. It's good for everybody. And we have when to Guadalajara, all the classic riders say, "Wow, the disability sailor is just unbelievable," and that's good for everybody.
Absolutely, I agree. And Alessandro, how about you? I mean, you're just a little bit younger than Chris, so
For sure.
Tell me about your story.
Yes, I started at 5 years old with the Optimist, and after I do 2-3 years of windsurf, and after at 8 years old I started with the kite surf. With the kite surf, and at 16 years old I do the accident, and after this I start with the Parakite.
Fantastic. You know, I wanted to dig more in with you, Catherine, on, well, actually your sailing story. Are you a sailor?
Not traditionally, no. Worked a lot in sports development, and that's how I came into sailing.
Right. You're in training and development with World Sailing, right?
Yeah.
And so getting into the kiting and kite foiling, you know, we noticed that, you know, when I was at the World Sailing meeting in Sarasota in 2018, when we were talking about the Olympic slate for Paris, and they did a video, I think it was on the Youth Worlds. It was a Youth World Championship, and there was a kiteboarding scene there. Maybe they were in Argentina. I'm trying to remember what that was. And it just seemed that the kite scene, compared to all the other traditional sports, was just a festival versus your traditional racing. And we see that here at Foiling Week too, because all these board sports that have gotten into foiling or are part of the foiling community bring that kind of more fun, and like what Alessandro is saying, hooked. You know, they're so hooked on it. What are the demographics, and not necessarily the demographics, but just the numbers like in World Sailing right now? Is kiting and kite foiling, especially because of the Olympics, is it a growing concern, meaning a good thing, in World Sailing right now?
Yeah, definitely. So I think you'll have seen it in the Youth Olympics in 2018,
Youth Olympics. Yeah.
from the video you're referring to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been growing ever since. I think one of the appealing things for kiteboarding is the access. You know, a lot of places you can launch from a beach. It's not perhaps the often traditional sailing club model where you need a jetty or the pontoon. you know, people can just have that free access to get out and ride. I also think it really helps for sailors. You know, they can travel with their kites and their boards. You know, they can take them, you can check them onto the plane, which just makes getting access to events easier, which opens it up to more nations. And in my kind of development role, we work a lot with emerging nations, and we just see a massive opportunity for those nations in kiteboarding as well, in terms of that aspect. And then when you kind of look at, you know, the festival feel you were talking about, the fast pace, exciting nature of the races, you know, it's just a brilliant avenue for the sport. And yeah, kind of endless opportunities there. So it's really exciting.
Cool. And I wanted to ask about that global community with Alessandro and Chris. You know, I would, just like a lot of people in foiling and in early days in kiting, you know, 20 years ago now, you're like an early adopter, you know, and for Paralympic sailing, if Paralympic sailing hopefully gets into 2028 in Los Angeles in the United States, you would be the first Paralympic kiteboarders, you know, ever. And so I have two questions for you. One, being kind of more visible because you're first in on the Paralympic kiting side of things. Do you know a lot of other people doing what you're doing it in the format, you know, the type of board that Alessandro's riding, the type of equipment or the type of racing that Chris is doing? Do you talk to other people around the world about Paralympic kiting? And maybe we'll start with Alessandro.
Think so.
Chris.
Yes.
I think we have a lot of people around the world training for a Paralympic game, and now you have a lot of para kiter, but it's free. It's not racing. We have not class, and it just right for us. But now the important thing is to go fast, to have a class, to have a direction, to have a line for the future. And after you see, we have a lot of different kiter in different countries come and say, okay, I go.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That's World Sailing perspective on that, and creating this community with the trainings. It's really important because, as you say, Chris, as we do with this, Chris, we wing a lot now on our own. But if you want to create a class, you need to put the community together and push it forward. Otherwise, you're just free riding, which is not bad. But to bring it to the Olympics, we need to have a community and then a class, and then have some boundaries to push it forward and get all these people in the world who are potential Paralympic sailors in any, whether it's kite foiling or potentially wing foiling in the future. Who knows?
And how about you, Alessandro? Yes. The global community, do you have some friends all over the place talking about Paralympic kiting and Paralympic sailing?
Yes, I know other people, and also the other people. The most the phrase with most people is in French, and all the movement of the Parakite, I think it started in French with Christophe Martin and with Thierry Schmitter. That started and improved all the equipment for the kite surfer. And I think if we are here to talk, it's all thanks to these guys, because they do so many equipment and improved all these boards. Yes, and they know also other people in the Brazil and the other place. But the problem is that if we are not too much people in this clinic, is that it's too difficult to move for these people around the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, because it's a first selection for show the way for the future. But if we make another clinic, for sure we have a lot of people. But the right thing is to make this clinic in the world foil competition, and I think so. with a chassis or me and stand up, we can use the same format, the same race format to the other guy. That's a great thing because we don't move the door. We can use the same format. And now with world sailing and a lot of people around the world, the important thing is everybody consider it. I don't know. We are really athlete, not just a disability sailor, but just athlete with high level, and to find a sponsor like the other athlete.
Awesome. That's an excellent point, because what I was going to say, and I started this conversation out when I was talking about Catherine and when the Paralympic Games were taken out of the Paralympic sailing out of the Paralympic program, was that it was a hit to the entire sailing community. Like Chris says, Alessandro and Chris are top athletes, straight up. In their disciplines. Chris was talking about the speed records. And, showing that it's not just a Paralympic athlete, it's an athlete. And so it kind of drives me to this question that I've been wanting to ask Alessandro and Chris and a lot of the sailors that we have here at Foiling Week, which is, Alessandro, if you had a dream event.
Yes.
A dream event, if you could, everything, the racing, music, party, location, what would be your dream event if you were creating it? Because you're a leader, so tell us what you would create.
I think I like so much a place of Mauritius, and I think it can be a very, very good place to do a dream competition.
Mauritius.
Yes, Mauritius.
Yeah, awesome, fantastic. And how about you, Chris? Do you have kind of a dream as Paralympic kiting moves in, and with other, non-Paralympic events? Do you have a dream event that you'd like to create?
No, I don't know the place, because if it's windy, if it's warm, water is warm too, it's okay for me, no problem. But the right thing is to include to the classic competition. And if actually we have a man, woman, and young guy, and if we have a para guy in the same place in the same time, for sure it's a good way.
I like that a lot. And Catherine, that we'll start to wrap this up a little bit, but when we talk about the Paralympic programs that World Sailing supports and the member MNAs, the member nation authorities, support that all the way down through the countries. It seems sometimes, just like with women's sailing, we separate things. Maybe we separate coaches and certainly funds. Is there a thought there that there are, and maybe World Sailing's already doing this and MNAs are doing, in terms of sharing resources, in terms of training and development, like what you work on?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's it's something to look at with the going forward. I think with the this para kiteboarding program, it was ran alongside the IKA event taking place at the same time, which was fantastic, and it was kind of a massive learning opportunity for us there. I think with a lot of the programs, I think it should always be put as what's best for the people taking part. So if you have high-level elite athletes, absolutely train together. If you've got people just beginning, maybe they feel more comfortable in a session that way. But I think it's always putting the person first and doing what's best for them. And so hopefully that, brings the best for everybody and can combine those things that way.
Great. And I think it's, it's a little bit of a shame that we're talking about Paralympic kiting because of BacktheBid, because sailing was taken out of the Paralympics. But man, it's awesome to be talking about it. And for you, Catherine, it's still a steep road to climb. There's a deadline of, when's a Monday? A couple of days from Foiling Week, and a lot of effort and work's been put into it. What do you see happening going forward? Do you get any signals from the International Paralympic Committee, or is it a little bit of a fingers crossed situation?
Yeah, no, sadly we won't get any indications at all. So it's just really for us keeping the momentum, with that voice on through the social channels, through the pieces on websites, and building that momentum. But I wish we did get an indication because it would put some of our nerves at rest. But we just have to trust in the process, trust in the information we've given is the best bid that we can submit, and then answer any questions they might come back to us with, and then wait till that January, very nervous, long time away from now deadline.
Yeah. One thing that we do know, and I think this should give Alessandro and Chris some faith, that, when in 2018, when double-handed offshore, mixed offshore was put on the slate, then it was taken off the slate for Paris 2024, that even though mixed offshore as a discipline, so it's not like the whole sport was taken out, but as a discipline, it was a boost to that type of sailing. So mixed offshore sailing is now really growing around the world. It's a very expensive discipline sometimes, but it sparked something. And the efforts of Alessandro and Chris, regardless of what happens with the Paralympic bid, because it's going to happen, it just might take a little while. All this effort from World Sailing, all this effort from Alessandro, Chris, all the men and women who are putting effort into Paralympic sailing in general, and then in our case, Paralympic kiting and Paralympic kite foiling. I just have this feeling that it's an opportunity, right, to promote these disciplines, promote other avenues, and also, like Catherine was saying, the mixing of resources between Paralympic sailors, Olympic sailors, and all those other programs. Maybe I'll let Alessandro and Chris just tell me your wish for the future. Maybe we'll start with Alessandro.
For the future, I hope to go in the Paralympic Games, and I hope to win gold medals. This is I hope this, and another hope, I hope to go to the competitions, and after improve the Parakite, and make a group of guys.
Awesome. And how about you? What's your kind of aim for the future?
So what? What? I can't see you.
Sorry, wait. That was cut. So the same for sure, but with stand-up discipline sailor, but for sure the line is training more and more, training with classic guide to at my level. For sure, in foiling it's difficult for Alessandro or me. For riding it's okay now. For tack it's close, not perfect again, but it's good. For jibe, for sure it's with you have a protesist, and you go to the jibe, it's just wow. I'll have a lot of training like this, but we can for sure, and for sure, like Alexandro, the direction is training more and more to look at the gold medal.
That's awesome. Yeah. Just before we go, I have one curiosity question. Do you practice any other sports aside kite foiling? Like, do you spend some time doing something else?
For me, I practice tennis sometimes, boat, sailing, generally sailing. That's all, because kiting is you have inside the kite you have a lot of support, directional, twin tip, and foil. You have a lot of support for training, and it's very interesting. And I practice e-foiling, electric foil. It's nice when knowing, and it's funny. It's just funny.
How about you, Alessandro?
I practice swimming for workout, for don't lose tonic, and the ski and the ski when I can't go on kite. on kite, and when I can, sometimes I go in a motorcycle on the track. And the other sport, no, and this is the sport that I practice.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. We'll keep reminding everyone about Back the Bid. Like Catherine said, there has been a tremendous amount of support for getting sailing, reinstating sailing back into the Paralympics. I guess, like Chris was saying, realistically, that's for LA 2028, as you can see on your screen. And that would be an awesome opportunity for me to meet Alessandro and Chris in person in Los Angeles, in Long Beach, to be out there in those perfect sea breezes and watching them race along with all the other competitors in the Olympics and the Paralympics that year. Catherine, Chris, Alessandro, and Bruno, thank you so much for joining us and educating us. And we'll be watching your careers go towards the games. And for now, that's it from Lago de Garda at the 2022 Foiling Week Forum. And keep watching. We really appreciate all the support.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks a lot for all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.